Good afternoon, meat suits. Welcome back to Read It and Weep, a podcast about movies and friendship. This is season 5, Kevin Bacon's Exquisite Corpse. Entering our final 2 months, we're just 4 creepy forest spirits playing a very long movie watching game. I'm your host, Alex Falcone, recording as I always do, as I often do, at least from North Koreatown in Los Angeles, and I'm joined by an excellent, if somewhat spooky panel. First up, he's at Anthony Lopez, part 2 on Twitter. He's in Southeast Portland. He's the nameless god of rage and hate, and I bow before him. It's Anthony Lopez.
Life is suffering. It is heard. The world is cursed. But we got to find a reason to keep podcasting.
We do, man. This is an existential movie. This is like True Detective season 1 level of people just bummed about everything.
That's how we measure.
Is there something going on in Princess Mononoke? I never really got anything from it. I thought it was a pretty simple,
it's just a fun ride. It's just a fun time. That's all.
Little story. I don't think there's any themes
not
or
trying to say anything.
messages or anything going on.
I think there's 2 themes. One is that everything is bad and terrible, and it only gets worse. And the other one is love a wolf girl.
I think it's just the world is goopy. That's what I got from this.
There is a goopiness to it.
It's a goopy world we got.
Is goopy.
The main lesson is don't put iron balls forcefully in gods very fast.
I do, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of lessons to take away, and one of them is don't shoot a god.
Yeah.
Right.
Never shoot a god, yeah.
Do not shoot a god. But also, is Princess Mononoke a manic pixie dream girl? I mean, anyway, we'll come back. Does she shake him out of his reverence? Okay. Anyway, I'm your host. I already did that one. Who else is here? Oh, also, he's the co-host of the Old Gamers Almanac podcast. He's from the woods of Brooklyn, and our laws forbid us from watching you enter. So whatever happens from now on, you're dead to us. It's Hunter Donaldson.
Hey, what's up? You are listening to the English dub of this podcast, but I like it in the original Japanese, personally.
Yeah. I think the best part is that we wrote it in Japanese, but then Neil Gaiman put it into English.
That's exactly.
And
it's nice that he did that for us.
They added all these weird voiceovers explaining context that people might not get otherwise, you know.
Absolutely.
Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see our mouth movement doesn't quite fit what we're saying.
Of course. I mean, how could it?
People actually have criticized that, so I guess that's another reason why.
I'm trying to do some post work to fix it. But anyway, joining us from Northern California, rounding out the panel today, he's a brainless, life-sucking god of death, and at sunrise, he'll vanish like a bad dream. It's Ezra Fox.
Hell yeah.
Yo, where's my head, dude? Dude, where's my head?
Did you put my head in a box again?
They could have just gone. I don't take a lot more of just like God tries to find his head as like it rolls down the hill and just other. I think you could have gotten another sequel just out of that. There's
a classic like monster chase. It doesn't see his head because the eyes are on the head, and he's like feeling around the forest blindly, bumping into stuff.
I recently saw this in Hocus Pocus again, and still good. Yeah,
every time. Before we start the show, I want to thank all of our meat buddies, but especially the ones who canceled in 2018 and are recently back. If you'd like to join them and reminisce on how it felt to donate to us in the past and keep the show limping down the tracks, you can go to Metreon.com, and we really appreciate everybody who supports the show now and in the past. First up, it's segment 1, the news. Couple of crucial news items first. Ezra, let's check in with the donut news.
So, guys, did you know that the sweetest way to celebrate Dia de los Muertos is with a dozen glazed donuts? But yeah, here's the thing. So this seems like a cool looking skull-based holiday from what I can see.
Yes.
There's flowers also. But oddly enough, it's not important enough to Krispy Kreme to actually do anything different for their donuts. So these are just the basic donuts. We had a whole lot going on from before.
Okay, so for Halloween, they made separate donuts, but for Dia de los Muertos, they were like, just have a regular ass donut.
Donuts. They didn't bother anything, but it's just the basic circle donut. So
they didn't even put like an orange flower on the donut or something.
Yeah, so I think I've learned that Krispy Kreme thinks that this is not nearly as important as Halloween.
Slightly racist, Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, that's the donut news. Oh, I did get an email from.
There's a very thin line between it being racist and then if they do just a little bit too much, it becomes extra racist.
Yes. Oh, yeah. This is a tough line.
They have a whole corporate team. They should have a corporate not being racist team at every large company. just run the ideas by them.
Yeah, no, they crunched the numbers, they looked at the data, and they decided to play it safe this year.
We will
That makes
take
sense.
just the basic donuts. This is the middle path. We feel okay that we won't get too much flack from this.
All right, so
Selling
the
donuts.
second thing I want to talk about in the news, this is a surprise to Hunter and Anthony, but not to Ezra.
Ooh.
This is a video game segment. Are you guys ready for a video game segment?
Whoa, what? How?
Zelda is ruining my life, and I need your help.
Yes.
Oh,
Let it
So-
destroy you.
So to catch people up from, so I am not a big video game player, although I did, I think the last system I had was a 64. And before that, I definitely had a Game Boy Color, and I definitely played Ocarina of Time, and I played a lot of Mario 64. Those are two games in my past, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So my sister and I decided to split. We talked about for a while about splitting a Switch, where the screen is between us, and then she has a blue controller and I have a red. We just passed it. We trade it back and forth, and so I did most of Mario, and then she finished it, and then I finished it, and the Switch is living with me currently, and I was bored, and I asked you guys what is the one next game to buy, and you guys all agreed it's Zelda Breath of the Wild, and I know this is not current. You've had 5 years to hear about this, but it's new to me, and you guys are gonna goddamn listen to me talk about it. But the main problem is that it is ruining my life, which is that, and this is why I don't have video games all the time. And I guess my question to you guys is, how do you have video games in your life and also get anything done? Because what I have found is that, if I gather all the cuckas in the village and give them back to the angry man or sad man, and I get 50 rupees for it, that triggers the same feeling of accomplishment as doing my work. It's the same brain chemical, and one of those two things is way easier and more fun. And so the day can go by, and I wouldn't even say, I was explaining what I've been doing to my wife, and she was like, is there nothing pressing in this universe? Because I do not feel like I know there's a growing evil, and I am mostly I feel like I'm mostly I'm cooking. I'm doing a lot of apple picking.
Yeah.
I'm sauteing a lot of fruit with spices.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm opening a farm-to-table restaurant in Zelda. I am not even stopping evil, but I'm just so pleased with myself mixing up my apples. I got a horse buddy now. I give him some apples. It's so wonderful, and I feel so accomplished, and I have done nothing for 4 days.
Well, I mean, a couple of things. One, I will say, Link was asleep for 100 years. Right. And so anything they really needed him to do, they can wait for. Right. They're like, oh, I hope this was so if Jesus ever comes back, for example. Right. I bet he's going to be going to Noma and hanging out for a bit. Right. He's not going to be he's not just going to be crushing evil right away. He's like, let me live a little here.
I do imagine that once you wake up your person from 100 years ago, you're like, hey, man, we've been waiting 100 years. So we're going to have to ask. I know it's weird you just woke up, but I'm going to need you to hustle a little bit. We don't have a lot of time left.
That's not what they did with Encino Man. They let him chill.
Yeah, they did let him chill.
That's right. And what is Zelda if not Encino Man, the video game?
It's the same premise. Okay,
same premise. Yeah, basically.
Same premise.
Yeah.
That and the Bible are all the same premise.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
But
wait, what's the problem?
You have to have.
What is the problem?
Yeah, you gotta.
I've done no work for 4 days.
Yeah,
right.
My
You're
real
having
life.
fun.
My real life is falling apart.
Are you sure this is the real life? Because this one, the colors aren't as bright in this one.
Yeah.
I just I have so many emails I have not responded to because I'm too busy feeding imaginary apples to a fake horse. And I just don't know that that's good for my life. And I don't understand how you put it down. How do you stop playing?
Well, most people have like a real job they have to go to. Alex, I've known you for a long time. I have no idea what you do or where you make money.
Well, this is a great point. And actually, Anthony, I was thinking about this ahead of time. You have a different experience. I almost want. I mean, you have a ton of experience with the video games, but Hunter and Ezra are both freelancers. You can't play video games at work, I assume. But both of them have the ability to just fuck off and let their careers fall apart because they're playing video games. And so I'm curious. Hunter, how do you, Ezra, you have real work and a family to support. Hunter, you're my guy.
Yeah.
Right.
We are just we could just fail.
Yeah.
How do you have video games and not let your creative powers fall to shit?
Well, this is why I made playing video games part of my job.
That was a good
so
move.
that
Yeah,
whenever I play games now, it actually is.
That's smart.
or
And that's
something.
actually what I was complaining to Ezra about this yesterday on the phone. And he was like, well, if you bring it up on the podcast, now it was work. So
Yeah.
that did help a little bit for sure, is I got a news segment out of it.
I
But
think Alex, your issue might be that if you're just cooking all the time and just kind of making up, feeding your horse, etc.
Yep.
The game is designed to kind of tell you to put it down at times. But you kind of got to pursue, like games are made of loops.
Yeah.
You do something for a little while and then it's done, and then you would do the next thing. When that next thing would start, it's also sort of the game saying maybe this is a good time to put it down. Do the next loop tomorrow. But that's the problem with games like Animal Crossing and like Stardew Valley, and it sounds like the way you're playing this game is that it doesn't ever tell you to stop playing it. In fact, it's like you can just keep doing this forever, which is a problem I have with this genre.
it does occur to me that I have more food than I will possibly be able to eat in the rest of this game. I have because I've
maybe
eaten...
you've solved that food problem now.
Yeah,
and you
you
can
have
move on
apples.
to the other aspects.
You got your hierarchy of needs, right?
Right,
You
right.
got food,
Just
you
want to
got
stay around the bottom
clothes.
the whole time.
Yeah.
Never defeat Ganon and like reach fulfillment. Always eat apples. That's Alex's base pyramid. Strong core.
But then they'll give me a new mushroom, and I'll be like, "What does that taste like with that?" I actually just got to a part of the game where they introduced dairy, so I've been basically vegan up to this point with just like mushrooms and apples. And all of a sudden, I got goat butter. The whole world is open up. Somebody told me, I met someone on the trail, and they were like, "Did you know you can make a pie?" It never occurred to me I could make a pie. I'm gonna make the shit out of a pie.
Yeah,
They all
there
have
are-
reasons, though. If you have an actual problem in the world you're trying to solve, these are helpful foods. Otherwise, you're just eating. You're just eating you're not even eating enough.
Yeah.
It does nothing.
What do you even need to eat all this food for?
This is another
Alex?
thing. So I finished Mario, and Mario and Zelda are like very similar. I feel like in a structural element, and then in the vibe is much more realistic in Zelda. And so in Mario, if this like desert creature is like, "Have you seen my sheep?" I'll be like, "Not now. I got shit to do." But in Zelda, if I agree to talk to someone on the trail and they're like, "My cuckas are missing. You need to find 7." I'm like, "Well, I did say I would do this." Like the idea of leaving town and not getting him his chickens back, it just never occurs to me.
Right.
Because I feel obligation to these people because they seem so nice.
I gotta say, you have to sort of balance, like you don't want to get too lost in the weeds on stuff, because if you actually do like the story stuff, you get items that will help you more efficiently get those birds later and stuff
That's
like
true.
that. You know what I mean?
Wait, what item could I get that would help me gather chickens better?
Oh, there's all types of items you can get. Things that get you up higher way faster, things that help with, combat if you're surrounded by bad guys, or there's a lot of great abilities.
I have been putting everything into speed. I like the thing that drives me crazy is when I have to walk. So I'm like, give me more stamina so I can just run the whole time, because Mario will run forever.
You can whistle run if you want. If you hold down the whistling thing, you run faster than regular walking.
Oh, so it's like a medium speed that you don't get
and
tired?
you recharge your stamina while you're doing it. So but you have to
can
listen to whistling the whole time.
Do the DLC and get yourself a badass motorcycle. That's
You can
pretty
get a
sweet.
motorcycle, yeah.
I'm interested in the
Motorcycle's
motorcycle.
rad.
Why not just skateboard around?
I do have 2 horses that I'm very pleased with. I do have Sylvester Stallion, and then I have Al Palouse. And those 2 are my trusty steeds, and they spend a lot of time because we can move faster.
Have you gone snowboarding yet?
See, no. What do I get? I get to snowboard too? Do I have to DLC for that too? Or
No,
I
no.
sandboard.
You can snowboard at any time. If you have a shield.
Oh,
if
you
jump
sit on
in
your
the
shield.
air, you can jump in the air, put your shield under your feet, and then snowboard down or like skate down any hill. It's
like the worst part of the
game.
Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
Was it Gimli who did the shield snowboarding?
Yeah, Gimli, the little elf
Gimli.
guy, the little dwarf guy, definitely scooting down. No, it was Legolas.
It was Legolas.
Yeah.
Anyway, silliest part. Okay. So I have to keep the loops. I have to finish a loop and consider that a break time. I think that's pretty good advice. The problem is then I can still be like, it sits there. So the one thing I've done is that once I put it down, it still calls to me. Like an Ocarina of Time. But I thought, so what I've done is, instead of leaving it on my nightstand to charge, I charge it right next to my wife's workstation. So that if I do pick it up in the middle of the
genius.
day, she's not holding it. She's not my mom. But if I want to play it, I do have to look her in the eyes in the middle of the day while she's in a work meeting and take the Switch. And that is emotionally very trying for me.
Can I also suggest maybe enjoy this time you're like really into the game. You're not going to be passion you have is not going to be here a few weeks from now.
It ends.
If you lose like a week to having a really good time with the game, just think of how much more efficient your other work will be when you get back to it, because you'll have so much more to do, right? You'll be able to like balance it out. Like enjoy
That's
the fact
interesting.
that you're enjoying something. Have a good time with it. It's a very big game. You're not going to beat it in a day. It's going to take you a while. But like if you put a lot into it, like over the next few days, that's cool. It's fine. You'll come back to it.
It has vacation aspects to it.
Yeah.
A big game like that. And the other thing that's great is that, Alex, when you're done with it, it's not like you just got done playing Mario Odyssey, and then now you're playing Breath of the Wild. And once you finish that, don't worry, there's not like another game as big and as good as those games for you to play next. Like you're going to be done as far as you're concerned. You know?
Yeah, I think once I get to a certain point in this, if I defeat evil, or if I successfully eat all of the apples in this land and I de-apple the entire, I've ruined the orchard, I salt the earth with rock salt that I mined. I'm also really into mining now. But once I get all that, maybe at that point I just give the Switch back to my sister. And my time is done.
God! Wait! You are basically like the ruler of Irontown, who's just stripping the land of all its like natural like beauty.
Oh, that's such a good segue. I am Mini Driver. Okay,
And
let's
now
talk
we're
about
in.
that instead. That's segment 2 of the news. Let's get into our main segment.
I'm really surprised that's what the news was. I did not expect.
I didn't mean to. Sorry, by the way, I did not mean to minimize your input there. I was just the fact that you do have a job. I think actually it gives you some guardrails, and that's one of the problems is that I've been driving without guardrails for the last 10 years, and so my productivity is like my one asset. It's my ability to actually work when I have nothing to do is like my one thing that's kept me from going broke. So anyway, but your point of just like maybe going on vacation for a bit and feeling it and then coming back is a very good one. But I'm sorry if it seemed like I was not as valuing your opinion. All right, let's talk about the game now. Not the game, the game. So this, as you know, for season 5 of Read It and Weep, season 5. We are playing a year-long movie watching game where we move via one actor in common between two movies, just like a classic Kevin Bacon game, and we try to steer it towards movies we've pre-selected. This week we watched Princess Mononoke, the 1997 Japanese animated epic historical fantasy film written and directed by Miyazaki and animated by Studio Ghibli. I watched at least the English dub, the Disney dub that was rewritten by Neil Gaiman and starring Claire Danes, Billy Bob Thornton, Minnie Driver, Jada Pinkett Smith, and most importantly for today, Billy Crudup, who was also in High Low Country with Patricia Arquette, who was in Lost Highway, because I had a card that let me move 2 Kevin Bacons to get here. If you guys want to watch along this week, Princess Mononoke is on HBO Max as of this recording. And I chose this because this was my movie. This was my points movie. And I chose it for a points movie because I've seen a couple of the other Ghiblis and I've liked them all a great deal. Although I watched Spirited Away first and none of them has lived up to Spirited Away yet.
Oh, that's not my favorite.
It's not your favorite? Which one's your favorite?
I think it's probably Howl. Howl's Moving Castle.
Interesting. I like Howl. Yeah.
Well, I mean, have you seen like Kiki's Delivery Service or
That's
My
one of
Neighbor
my best
Totoro?
I saw Totoro. I didn't think Totoro was good. I like these movies, but they're just not. Maybe it was just because it was the first Miyazaki I'd seen, so the tricks were fresh.
Yeah,
but I still would rather go back and watch Spirited Away than any of those other ones again. I mean, yeah, I liked Howl, and I like Totoro. Totoro has got Totoro himself, one of the best characters ever.
There's
designed.
A lot of adorable characters in this one. In that one,
I mean, that's true. This is I actually feel like with some of these, the stories are just a little weaker. But boy, can this guy design the shit out of a character. Like, There's nobody who I'd rather. If someone had to draw a creature for me, I would like it to be Studio Ghibli. If that's if everyone was like, you get one critter drawn in your grave, make it the Miyazaki team, because man, they draw some creatures. Holy cow. Really delightful.
Yeah, it's good creatures.
Pig covered in worms that moves like a spider. Like nothing like that has ever. Nothing has ever delighted me.
This is a weird one for the Ghibli verse, I guess, because like this is the least cute creatures I think we have in it. Really, we have the sort of the bobblehead spirits, but other than that,
unless
and
you
for
get
me, it's the most
something
beheadings of any animated film I've ever seen.
Yeah, a lot of blood.
It's his most like adult and sort of epic one. But I mean, you have like. Fireflies, which is like if you want to get into like no fun creatures at all, it's in a Ghibli movie. It's one of like the most depressing animated movies ever made.
You talking about Grave of the Fireflies?
Yeah, Grave of the Fireflies. Yeah,
but that movie's sad. You'll cry at that one.
Yeah,
that's
not a
Miyazaki
one. That's just a different from the same studio. It's a different animator there.
Yeah, you shouldn't be showing a kid that one. Kids shouldn't be seeing that. Ruin their life. Ruin their whole life with that one. Ruin their whole life.
A big part of like sort of that I think like Studio Ghibli kind of gets lost in, especially in the West, is people sort of thinking like they only make like the Ponyo's and the My Neighbor Totoro's and the Kiki's Delivery Service, but they have a very diverse catalog of movies, and in very much in that same way of like animation is not a genre, it's a medium. Right. They make movies in all different types of genres. Something like The Wind Rises is a very mature, retelling of the guy who invented planes that were used in Japan during World War II. And it's like they're all over the place in terms of like the films that they want to, especially Miyazaki, in terms of like the stuff he wants to cover and the movies he wants to tell and the way he wants to tell his stories, which is something that every time I rewatch his movies, especially something like this, which is it's so good and really gets into like what I love about Miyazaki as a storyteller and as a artist, is the way I think like the thing you sort of said about his stories being a little bit weaker with some of other things. I think that's like, I don't read them as weaker. I read them as like, they're so incredibly complex for what is supposed to be like an all ages children's story. Like this is a fantasy epic, but it is like it's one of the only fantasy epics I've ever seen. And like one of the things that goes through all Miyazaki movies is that he never has bad guys, he never has villains in his work. Everyone is always good and bad. Everyone has a valid point of view. There is no bad guy that you're gonna defeat and then the evil goes away and everything is good. That's not what his movies are about. He makes these movies that are incredibly complex and dense and can be read through, obviously with this one, like a very strong environmental message, but there's also like really interesting social. You just getting the environmental message.
I was missing that part.
Oh yeah, I didn't get that at all.
I thought this whole thing was about pigs, but it's about the forest and okay. I see
it's
it
about
now.
where the piggies live.
Modernization.
It's about where the
but
pig
we also
house.
live there. That's the issue.
Yeah, we both live in the pig house. That's kind of the whole deal.
We all live in the pig house. That's what life is. Well, let me summarize. These are good. This is a good point, Anthony. Let me go through for people who have not seen this movie. Let me summarize. Summarize Princess Mononoke from 1997 for you in my patented 5-point micro summary of the film. A little archer boy shoots a giant pig covered in worms, and all he got was this
prince.
Little
Archer Prince.
He's not a little boy at all, actually.
You see the way he walks with his
he's
arms
a young
stiff
man,
and
but
his
he's
chest
like
out.
He's like 8. He's at a hard 8.
He decapitated a lot of people. All right,
I know. He's
not
a rough.
He's an
12?
adult. He's like yes, he's a young man, but he's not a child.
Maybe 14. He's like a rough 14. 14, but at a time in the world where like
14.
that took some years. Yeah.
All right.
When you lived to 35, he was 14.
All right, fine.
So anyway, he shoots this giant
17.
pig covered in
It's
worms.
supposed to be 17.
And all he gets is this lousy cursed arm. And boy, does it inconvenience him. So it's slowly killing him, the cursed arm where it touched the pig worms. And also it dishonors him for saving the town. And so they make him get a haircut and leave forever. And, he cuts his own hair, which is like a warning sign for his mental health, but they don't do anything about it. They just kick him out, tell him not to come back ever again. It's harsh. It's real harsh. So he goes on a journey down the road, meets some people, some creatures, and eventually ends up in Irontown, which is a city that makes guns and is run by a mean-looking lady. And you're like, wow, she's the baddie for sure. But then, just like Anthony said, she's not just some villain with a tattoo that says "I run Irontown." She's actually a really nice woman who helps other women escape brothels.
I want to
and
say
then
for the
employs
record,
lepers.
she seems like a pretty nice woman from the get-go, in my
Well,
opinion.
no, when you
Like,
you're like, oh, I'm here to see the villain, and then she shows up in the cut of her and the mask, and like she looks. It's short. It's brief.
Look,
Anyway,
Alex has a real get woke, go broke kind of mentality. When he sees a strong female character and stuff, he's just like, she's got to be the villain. She's the bad guy here.
Appreciate that you guys are making fun of me, but for people who have not seen this movie, I'm right and they're wrong. So this is intentionally what you're supposed to feel when you first see her, and then it turns out no, she's actually like helping the less fortunate by employing them in a very possibly the most healthy work environment ever put on film. Except that it's used to make guns that are specifically with the purpose of killing gods.
Not everyone's perfect, all right? It's still pretty good.
It's the guns are being made because they're constantly being attacked by other armies, so they're there to defend
and by
themselves.
wolves, and they're trying to wolf gods.
Isn't the
And then
first scene
pigs.
with her is like the wolf attack, and I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to be rooting for the wolves at that. By the way,
I know, which is weird because I also feel like we are supposed to a little bit root for the wolves. I mean, she's shooting wolves, and like wolves are good. Wolves make the whole ecosystem.
They're
Haven't
like
you seen that?
giant wolf monsters with two tails. They're
Well,
not. I don't think you're supposed to be like they're chill. Obviously.
I feel like okay. So my reading of that is that that's people treating wolves like the kids in Sandlot treat the dog next door, where they're like, every time you put a ball over there, it gets eaten. But wolves, they are scary seeming, but wolves make the whole. Haven't you seen that video where we reintroduced wolves into that national park, and then like all of a sudden everything got better? The trees are better, the waterfalls are like.
Oh my God.
Wolves are the key. They're the cornerstone of an ecosystem.
Please do like a home makeover thing where it's just reintroducing wolves into people's houses and seeing if they get
It will work. This is a keystone species. I'm not making this up.
And,
this is real.
And again, Alex, he's really into alpha and beta culture, and that comes from wolves. So
you recognize some alphas.
Yeah,
the second he
he's
saw them, he was like, "These are my alphas."
He's like, "Oh, sweet, the alpha's here. I know whose side I'm on now. Sweet."
So one of the issues with Good Boss, besides the fact that she hates canines, is that the one tiny issue is that she's engaged in a war against the gods of the forest because she wants to take their land and make more guns using the rocks underneath the forest. And so she's trying her hardest to murder God. And then the only thing trying to stop her is a feral child who rides wolves and drinks blood. And she is the hot new Disney princess. Yeah. Princess Mononoke, covered in blood. Just wolf god blood, head to toe. And hot. People love that. So anyway, so the cursed boy, he immediately develops a crush on Wolf Girl because they have a lot in common. They both cut their own hair.
She doesn't even ask to suck the blood out of her mother's womb. She just does it. I know how badass that is.
She just gets right to work.
Yeah, that is
gross.
Efficiency.
It's real gross. When she goes and spits the blood out afterwards, like she treats it like mouthwash and then straight out. Oh, yikes!
It's bold. It's bold as hell.
Alex, wait. You're in that situation. What would you prefer would happen next in that moment before spitting it out? Like, what is your call?
I am not. Maybe I missed why she had to drink the wolf's neck blood.
It dribbles out. Like, what is a better solution? Offer some
swallow it.
Just all I want to do is turn away demurely and then vomit blood so I can't see it on camera.
Just kind of like politely, just like
yeah. Nobody wants to watch you spit blood. Gross.
Okay, yeah, but we need to know, she's like
is the problem. But let's keep it moving.
I don't want to hear about that.
She's
anyway,
a wolf lady. She's a wolf lady. That's her whole
the two
thing.
of them get together to stop the military-industrial complex from killing God, and they're not fast enough because the bad good lady shoots God's head clean off and puts it in a box. She just decapitates God and puts it in a box, and God cannot get it back because he doesn't. His head's in a box. He's very inconvenienced.
It's his head in the box.
The wild children convince the lady to let God his head out of a box, and then God blows up, and then the cursed boy is like, "Hey, you guys can't kill God," and so maybe the whole thing didn't matter anyway because you can't Just kill God. He is everything. And that's the movie.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
god,
Well,
not
yeah.
the god.
They also kind of
Right, that's
suggest
true.
that he's kind of sacrificed his whole body for it.
But then he comes back.
Well, I mean,
Right.
it's like you can't kill him because it's like it's nature. Come on, it's nature. It's nature. Nature lives.
That's the movie. That's the thrust of it. It does
It's a
have
good fucking movie, man.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
And so incredible looking.
Yeah, I mean I love animation. That's one of the reasons why I picked this and why I've been enjoying going to the Ghibli catalog, because I love animation and I love when it's different. I like that it's not Disney animation. And as much as I disliked her drinking wolf blood and then spitting it into a little fountain like we're hanging out at the pool,
People
cool.
shouldn't do that. I agree that people
Cool.
should not do that at the pool because that goes back into the pool. People shouldn't do that. Don't do that.
Right,
Well,
right.
it's weird
Also, I
that they put chemicals in the pool so that when you spit blood in them, it like shows up. But it's like it's blood. It's very obvious when it's in the pool. You don't need to add
Like,
extra
well,
chemicals. We'll just
yeah,
what are we
it's so
doing
cool
here?
looking. I think the main thing about this movie, to me, the main takeaway from this movie is what Anthony was saying beforehand, which is that the villain is a nice lady. The kid who saves the forest or saves the town is cursed for it. Like, he does what's seemingly good and it turns out to be bad. The lady who's helping some people are hurting other people. They're like, the complicatedness of this is really incredible. It's not the most satisfying to me in a story, but it is incredible.
Yeah, see, to me, it's like I don't know, especially as this came out in 1997, and
Mhm.
I think its environmental message as we have continued to trash this planet, like we don't give a shit about like the deposit or whatever.
We're driving
know,
this planet like we rented
um,
it, for sure.
Yeah, but this like the theme, sort of like one of the themes of this movie is like this idea that like no nature as like this like caring, nurturing thing that like has like this plan and the sense of control, the way that's sort of like an illusion and something we like pit on it. And you look at like the way as we trash this planet more, the way nature like strikes back, not in like a mean way or a way that's like they can even control. It is just like the sort of the vileness and the evilness takes over, and it just becomes this force of nature that destroys all of us, right?
Well,
Or destroys parts of
but
it.
even that feels like, like a Fern Gully, like, don't wreck it, this is bad. But even that is the environmental message is much more complicated. And I like, even early on, I was like, okay, I get it. I've seen this movie where they hit you over the head with an environmental message. And it seems like every movie that has the environment in it is like, I'm going to beat you to death with the most obvious version of this idea. And in Miyazaki, killing the forest to dig up the iron to make guns is also lifting a lot of people out of poverty and saving them from like human trafficking. Like, the amount of benefit that you get from killing God is high, and you can see from her point of view why it feels like she has to kill God, because she needs to keep this machine running, and the machine is supporting all of these sick people. Like, it is fascinatingly unclear or complicated. It's fascinatingly complicated environmental message.
Right, because it's an environmental story where the conflict is also environmental, instead of it just being like, I don't know, it's not like Star Trek 4 where the Enterprise crew is, they're going to save some whales or whatever, but that's not really what the story's about. What the story is about and what the point of it is the same thing.
Yeah.
So it is as complicated as our own, real life struggle with the environment. And that's, I think, where a lot of movies like this kind of fib, is they just kind of act like what's happening is we have no benefit to throwing trash wherever we please. There's no upside to it. We just do it because we're stupid.
Yeah, exactly. That is the classic fib, is like, if we had just left oil in the ground, everything would be great.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I think there are people who are genuinely villains, and that's why I'm not as upset when a movie has a genuine villain, because there are definitely people who are bad for bad's sake.
Absolutely.
Like, I see those people around. But people don't drive cars because it's fun to hurt the environment. Like, there are clear uses that help people, that maybe the sum of it is bad. And that's why we've trashed the planet, is because it's convenient in a small way all the time to do it. And the amount that it's bad is big and is spread out and is hard to
I mean, I don't
assess.
want to like roll coal constantly, but like, I see a reason. I see some
people.
like
There are people who do that, who are bad for the fun of being bad. But even still, like the thing about the rolling coal people is they get that short-term benefit of being an asshole and laughing at each other's videos and going viral on the bad side of the internet. And the actual devastation to the environment is still spread out and slow, and it's not a clear like I sometimes get a little bit I'm a little bit fatalistic about the environmentalism.
What is this rolling coal thing? I don't know this.
It's when people with big trucks see a kid on a bike and they drive up next to it and they rev the truck engine in such a way that it shoots out a cloud of black smoke onto the bike rider.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And they do it to go viral on the bad side of the internet.
And a human thing.
And they call it rolling coal, which is hilarious too, that they were like, it's not diesel, which is actually what's happening. Like the thing they're doing is bad. And they're like, isn't this fun? It's like a worse thing. It's cool because we make our thing like the other thing that's worse. Oh, it's hilarious. Anyway, I tend to get fatalistic about the environment because it seems like the way if you were to structure a problem to make it so that humans can't solve it, this is what you'd do. Everything about the way the earth is getting broken feels like a perfectly constructed, unbeatable final boss for humanity's specific set of problems.
Yeah.
And I like this movie showing that mechanism a little bit. And I assume the way the out that this movie gives is sort of like, well, you can make guns, but less of them. Or you don't have to kill the whole forest. You can like work with the wolves to figure out when they don't need the iron so you can make them into bullets or whatever. I assume that's the bet if to the extent there is an outcome.
I think it very wisely is because if you think about where we're at in this conflict in real life, I would say we're at step 0.00002 at this point, as far as facing the problem, doing anything about it. I know there are things happen all the time, but like it feels I'm just talking about feelings right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know anything. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
So I think wisely, this movie is also just about getting these people to just begin to focus on this problem, because the movie doesn't have answers for how to solve it. It's more just saying like, well, if we don't do anything about this, then all of the environment will be trashed.
Yeah, can we at least agree this is a problem? I guess that is step one.
Right, and the answer humanity has given is no.
Yeah,
I mean,
thus far we're still not at that. We're still not at the end of Princess Mononoke as a people, and that's where we need to get to. Is the end of this movie all together now?
Like we could just take a second, don't shoot God in the neck. Let's work on some other things. And then everyone's like,
shoot on the neck a little bit.
Yeah.
Might just do that a little bit.
Listen, I got some people I got to take care of.
I got to get to work. And then
I got to get to work.
I got to clock in. I'd love to fix the environment, but I have this work that I have to do, shooting God in the throat. And that I'm just going to go do that. We'll talk later.
I like the idea that, look, he's not doing a good thing, but at least he's shooting God in the neck to get everything he wants, right? I feel like most people, we're mostly just like, we're like kind of winging God for no like great gain on our part, right? I feel like that's kind of the issue. So if you're going to shoot God, make sure you're prepared to get all the benefits. Make sure you get compensated accordingly. I think that's what I would hope at the minimum.
I do, but
get your cardio up, because you're gonna have to run after you kill God.
No matter what you plan out, there's gonna be a foot race at the end of killing God. It always comes down to a foot race.
Yeah, are you curious to kill God?
This idea of killing these, and Anthony, you pointed out a god, not the god, but the idea of killing a god is still very unclear to me, because he says you can't kill him, but there's also a line where she says he's a god, it'll take more than one shot, as if everyone already knows there's a number of bullets it takes to kill God, and it's more than one, but it's less than infinity. And I don't know how many.
Seems right.
Those were big cannonball type bullets. So maybe the number now, like the 9mm would be like lots and lots of shots. But I don't know. But there's some equation of like how many bullets kill a god.
I think this is a fair bet, though, right? That's like, if God is killable, it will take some number. But odds are it's not going to be one, right? So
that's and a hat box. You need some number of bullets and a hat box to put the head in.
Yeah.
Also, a part of like this type of storytelling and like the universe that he's creating here is his idea of like, the gods are diminishing naturally is like a
Yes.
theme that runs through the work, right?
Yeah, they start by saying like this is back in the time of the gods, and I do agree. Like if you go to Manhattan right now, this is not the time of the god. Like there's just not gods running around. There's not spirits. There's not a spirit of Fourth Avenue. It's just not happening.
But
so yeah,
the boar god even says like if we are losing our ability to speak, eventually we would just be dumb game, right? And that's like what happens, and I think of sort of like one of like the themes that runs through all of Miyazaki's work is like his interest in observing humanity in people, and if like people like if we can at least think of everyone as people on both sides and understand like the humanity to like an issue like this, right? Even like the Princess Mononoke character herself is this girl who's been raised by wolves and like absolutely refuses to acknowledge that she is a human, right? She like refuses to see that, wants nothing to do with humans, wants nothing to do with this. And like the people on there on Iron Town are sort of like the opposite. They see their problems. They see like we are getting attacked by other humans constantly. So we're not going to think of like the cost of what we're taking. But like these gods will eventually lose their ability to speak. They will lose their ability to take care of themselves. And then like if we're not like actively aware of what we're doing, that's going to keep leading to bad things, and it's just like it's a very interesting way he positions this story to be like, yeah, at the end of the day, this story happens, this is how it ends, and now you can sort of like take these themes and these messages and sort of think about like your own relationship with nature and with other people and the cost of the things you have. Yeah, it's just good stuff.
It's a really interesting way to make an animated film, while still having the ability to do things that you wouldn't do. This is like in a normal live action movie, like when the girl's raised by wolf baby bird some jerky into the little boy's mouth, the cursed boy's mouth. That was gross.
I thought you were mentioning like shooting an arrow and having a guy's pop clean off where it got hit. Which is like the best animation stuff.
It does have it has that kind of like funny gore in some parts of it, which is interesting too, to be like, this is a movie about humanity, but also like, man, if you shoot a person wrong, look at how they pop.
I mean, it's just like, look, guys, don't laugh, but in the olden days, we used to have body parts that were very poorly attached. All right, it's just how it was,
What the other thing that Miyazaki or the Ghibli does besides character design is there is always a scene in every Ghibli movie where the food looks amazing. For hand-drawn food, they make food look so good. When he buys rice for like $1 million in gold, and then his friend who tries to kill God later, who's like, the world is cursed, life is suffering, let me make you some porridge, makes the most delicious look. Like if my Zelda character could make kanji, I would definitely be doing it, because he's over the open flame.
Definitely make risotto, by the way.
What?
So, yeah, there's grains in there. You can.
I have
definitely
not gotten to rice yet.
Okay,
In fact, I'm eating very little grain. I don't know where Zelda's getting his
keto
energy. I'm very keto vegan. Is that possible? Well, I'm freegan. I'll eat the steak. I won't kill game in that game. But if like a monster is searing steak, I'll take it. I'm not gonna let it go bad.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna waste it. So I'm keto. I'm freegan keto. Frito. They call me a Frito. Anyway, they make the most delicious looking kanji, man.
They make faces look terrible, though, I think, generally, right? Where it's like there's several scenes, I think, in every Miyazaki movie where it's just like, this dude looks rough, right?
Yeah.
Where it's sweaty or just bloody. There's a lot of ones where it's like,
times were rough, man. It was gross back then.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's like the other thing about Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli's films is like those like little attention to details that you don't get, especially when you think of like hand-drawn cell animation and how much of a pain in the ass everything is to do in that medium. And you watch his movies, and there's like that scene when they're like eating rice. There's like little grains of rice stuck to the end of chopsticks as he's talking. Or there's like an incredible little moment. Like I always think of this moment in Spirited Away. It's talked about a lot, but like when she's putting on her shoes and she like stops to kind of kick them against the floor to make sure they're on properly. It's just this incredibly and like detailed little piece of animation that gives so much character stuff. And this movie's filled with those. Like when he goes to get the guy water, and he like takes his little bowl out and he rinses it first in the water, and then brings the guy water. It's just like that's just extra work that someone spent hours on. To get these animations just perfectly, and the movies are filled with these amazing little pieces of animation.
So this is one of the things I love about animation is that there's a possibility to like, because it's literally every frame of painting, right? So you have the ability to think about every aspect of your painting in a way that you can't really in live action. And then also there's just something about it, there's like, it's not just like, how did they do this? But it's like, why did they do it this way that I love? Like, I love stop motion for that reason too. I just love the idea, like there is a person whose job it is to make tiny doll dresses for like 3 years.
Right.
And they have to make a dress that's articulatable because it won't actually, it has to like have wires so it stays up. Like the amount of work that goes into those things is something that I mean, it feels mean, but it's like I'm enjoying the human hours are like yum, yum, yum. I'm really enjoying how hard it was for somebody. And I feel bad about
how much
that.
work you had to put into such a minor detail. But I mean, at the end of the day, those minor details can make, I feel like, the animation feel more believable than like an actual actor. Like a lot of the time, especially with those little details in there.
Absolutely.
You watch every one of Miyazaki's movies, and you completely understand why, when he finished it, he was like, "I'm done. I'm never doing this again.
I'm retiring.
I'm retiring. This was bullshit. This is a lot of work. I can only chain smoke so many cigarettes in my one white apron I wear every day at work. I can only do this."
So there is this one moment in the movie that I thought, so like when the one of the soldiers was attacked by the giant wolf gods and then gets saved by Link or whatever his name is, and then he's like, they bring him back, and then his wife is like, "Ugh, you're so injured," and it felt a little bit like Miyazaki being like spending his whole life staring at these animations, and one of the points that he wants you to know is women be nagging, His wife is very frustrated with how many hours he spends drawing people kicking their shoes, and he just wants you to know he's had some fights because of this.
I want you to do like a video essay on this moment.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the takeaway exactly from the movie, but
I'm sort of making fun of it. I'm like, it was like a weird bit of sexism to be floating alone in this movie. But now when you talk about that attention to detail, now I'm like, I bet there are a lot of people in his life who are like, "Hey, do you want to come home maybe and have dinner with your family?"
He's like, "Nah."
Hey, remember when your friends used to call?
You read stories, like I saw this number thrown around a lot about how there's like 140,000 frames were drawn for this movie or something like that. And Miyazaki personally worked on or corrected or touched up over 80,000 of them. Right?
Jesus.
So like a huge majority of frames in this movie. Not only was like all the characters conceived by him, the story, he was directed it, did all the storyboards himself, but actually going back and touching up like a huge majority of every frame in this movie has his fingerprints on it. It's just like the amount of work and attention to details he puts into all of his movies is like staggering,
Yeah. All right. I can't wait to find where we're going to place this on our season 5 best movies of all time.
Oh dear.
Of this year. So where are you guys going to rank Princess Mononoke from 1 to 36?
Give us the top 10.
Of course. The current top 10 best movies of all time: The Third Man, Edge of Tomorrow, Lion King, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Iron Giant, Cuckoo's Nest, Hero, Good, Bad, Ugly, Happy Together, and Batman.
Okay,
I know mine.
Some interesting things happening here already. Yeah, what's yours, Ez? Where are you going to put it?
So I actually want to tie it, so I put it at 5, as good as Iron Giant.
Exactly.
I don't really know how to
5.
I don't know how to put it above or below that, really.
I mean, obviously, this is like partially my influence because I think I picked both of these. But the fact that we have Lion King and Iron Giant in the top 10 is pretty cool. We got a lot of animation for this season. All right, so exactly 5. Hunter, where do you think?
I would put it at number 2, and I would say almost all of Miyazaki's filmography would be at number 2, and some of it being even at number 1. So,
are you putting it? So you're putting it between 1 and 2, or at 2 exactly?
I'm putting it above Edge of Tomorrow as the new number 2.
All right, 1.5 there. Anthony, where are you going to put it?
I'm right with Hunter. I think that this is 1.5 easily with a bullet.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy because they're animation. It's easier for me to compare it to like Lion King than to Third Man. And I love Lion King, and Lion King does straightforward Disney storytelling with villains, which I do also find very satisfying. But this feels like, a better version of those things in a lot of ways. More incredible to look at, more depth.
This is also a movie, like, you watch this and, like, I talked about this a lot with some of the older movies we have. This isn't even that old, but, like, this is a movie that you can still feel the, like, impact of. I mean, in Breath of the Wild, right, is massively influenced by this movie, from down to its aesthetics,
to kanji,
creature designs, stuff like that. The fact that this came out.
Do I get to fight a giant wolf? Because I won't hurt a wolf.
No,
I mean,
I don't believe so.
You can get attacked by little wolves for now.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But
I did see a fox, and I just want to play with the fox, but I don't know what to do with it.
You can become friends with the fox, but
you can I just jog next to it. That's the best I can do.
You,
or I watch him through my little binoculars like a bird watcher. But in Zelda, this is why it takes forever.
I mean, you watch this movie. 4 years before Lord of the Rings came out, right? And this movie's influence on Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings is massive as well. Those huge widescape, like, landscape shots of a character moving through a field. Like, this movie didn't invent that. But in terms of, like, storytelling in a fantastical, like, epic, so much of this movie has been stolen and being used in live action, used in other animation, used in video games. It's one of those movies that, it's like impossible to talk about the impact this movie has had on culture and stuff like that. I just think
and this is a long bit of talking to come to the same answer that you guys had, but I feel like it's easy to compare it to Lion King. It's even easy to compare it to Edge of Tomorrow, but I do not know how to compare this to The Third Man. And there's just something about animation next to meat suit movies. Like, there's something about it that just makes it very difficult for me to just distill the quality difference. So I can't put it above Third Man right now, but I think it's above Edge of Tomorrow. So I'm going to do the same thing as you guys.
Oh, wow.
After much talking, and go with 1.5.
Cool.
This is a low score, but the answer is 2.375 is the average, making this the new third best movie of all time, just edging out Lion King. And putting 3 animated films in our top 10. And 2 in the top 5, which is really interesting. All right, so next up, we have some business to do. Ezra, what is the score currently?
Okay, so in second, Alex and Hunter, 15 points. In first, Ezra and Anthony, 16 points. End of scoring report.
So I got 5 big points here.
Yeah.
5 big points.
What are you going to do with them?
I'm going to keep them.
Nice.
I'm going to take them. I'm going to take them. I think that we're at the end of this game. I'm not going to win the game, but I think what I'm going to do is accelerate the point scoring by taking all of these. So we're going to have a photo finish. I don't think I'll be able to score again this year. So that's my final answer. Give me 5 big points, Ezra.
Okay. I don't know. It just broke. Alex, you went down to 0. I don't know what happened. It's weird.
Oh no.
That was strange. I didn't know.
No, weird.
You got blackjack.
I play a power card.
You win. The dealer bust. You got blackjack. So congratulations.
Don't I have 20? I had 15 before.
The dealer, I can't count anymore. All right, fair enough. Okay, so no, for reals. Hunter, last place, 15 points. Ezra and Anthony tied at 16, and then Alex, lone holder of the title, currently 20 points.
Okay, so I just noticed that means the next order of business that it's for me to pick another movie.
Yes,
and I just noticed I have this list of future picks to go through, and I just opened it and noticed that I had failed to fill it out. So there's nothing in there; it was empty.
Oh dear!
I blew it.
Oh Lord!
So what do I do from here? What do I actually do? Something that I actually want to see. I'm just doing a quick once through my queue here.
I hope you choke on this. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I hope it's.
I mean, I'm not really planning on. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to get there. I mean, there's movies that we've talked about recently that I've queued up because we're just like they came up, like I do kind of want to see Rumble in the Bronx just to get a bit more
that'd be
Jackie
cool.
Chan.
Yeah.
It feels a little similar with stuff we've done already. Well, you know what? This is stupid. I'm bad at this. So I'm just gonna pick this kind of randomly. But a thing I've been meaning to watch recently, because it came up, and I'm making friends with the one of the executive producers on TikTok. So I'm gonna put The Illusionist as my next movie.
Oh
From
wow.
2006. Just to get this segment not longer. I wish I could pick something else, but this is happening. Edward Norton, Paul Giamatti, Jessica Biel, among others.
I never saw this because it was like that movie that was just like The Prestige, but it wasn't The Prestige,
but
right?
not as good.
No, it's The Prestige, but rather than doing all real magic like they did on The Prestige, they do all CG magic.
Yeah,
it's pretty lame.
Bad idea to review a thing that you might not like with someone you're trying to make friends with. But I like this move. It's a bold move.
So here's my choices, and you guys can tell me what I should do here. I can either pick this movie and the show moves on, or I can grind this to a halt for an hour where I really put some thought into it.
I'll let you.
Right.
I'll let you
got
pause
nothing going on.
Yeah.
All right. Can I tell you later?
Yeah.
Yeah, just tell us later.
As long as it's not
That sounds
affected,
good.
as long as you don't change it based on what I pick next, I think that's fine.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I won't.
Okay.
I'm not trying very hard. Yeah, all the movies I want to watch just feel like weird choices. Okay. All right. Placeholder. TBD, but possibly The Illusionist, unless Ezra talks me out of it to save my career. All right, so that out of the way. Ezra is our next pick. Ezra, what are we watching
First,
this week?
I need a point of clarification. So I have a card that says I can move by studio, travel by studio, and this says parentheses production studio on day of release. I want to know if Disney's work on the dubbed version that we saw would make this a Disney production also.
I don't think this was released by Disney. I think this was released by Miramax in the States, which is a company owned by Disney.
It's true, which is owned by Disney. I don't know how stacked.
Well, that I would say would be no if it's Miramax, but I thought it was released by Disney. I could be wrong.
It was definitely under
this was before.
Miramax.
Oh,
this was before the Disney deal when Disney brought over a bunch of this movies.
Yeah,
Miramax was originally.
Interesting.
Do you guys? Can I tell you guys a quick
tell
story?
tell the story. I was going to
tell
tell
it. Do
it.
you know the story about?
Wait. Yep. Thank you, Anthony's story time.
Well, the famous story with this movie was noted piece of shit and film ruiner Harvey Weinstein, head of Miramax, was famous for buying foreign films, cutting the fuck out of them, and then releasing them to dumbed down versions to American audiences. And that's what he wanted to do with this one. He wanted to edit a bunch of it, change it around, and re-release it with a simpler, cleaner story in his mind. And Miyazaki said no and left the room. And then a few weeks later, Miyazaki's producer sent Harvey Weinstein a katana that just said no cuts on it. And Harvey Weinstein took that as kind of a message and was like, okay, no cuts. So that's how they got the movie to be released.
Yeah, definitely a threat. But
Definitely
hey,
a
that's
threat.
fair and good. If
Hilarious.
anything, maybe they were kind of looking into the future
Also,
a little bit.
Harvey Weinstein seems a little bit like a guy who might have a katana.
Yeah.
Well, he did. Yeah, he got at least one.
Yeah,
he was given one.
All right, that's a good story.
I'm hearing you say even though
Miramax feels like no, then
right? Even though Disney was owning Miramax during 1993 to 2010, you say it still doesn't count to.
I'd say no. That would still be a Miramax movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also a no on that.
The rule is like Miramax wasn't the distribution company day one for this. Like
well, it was on day of release, but on the day of on the day of the release of the version we saw. But either way, I'm cool with it.
It's tough. I mean, I want to help. I genuinely do. I just feel like in order for the card to make any sense, it can't be something owned by Disney because they own everything, and also like they do have other studios release stuff on purpose.
Okay. Then I know what we're doing, guys.
All right.
So we are traveling. Okay. So it's gonna be an animated movie next. I actually don't really terribly care which one we do, because there's three equal paths. So I'll do dealer's choice, like as in if people want to weigh in, we can either do the Rugrats movie, Anastasia, the animated one,
Yeah.
or the one that I'm leaning towards, which is Osmosis Jones. But
Hmm.
they all go. I'll end up with where I want to go. So
All paths lead to Rome. Okay.
yes.
If it were up to me, I think my vote would be Anastasia. But
Yeah,
I'm okay
I like
with any of them.
Anastasia. Yeah, I have no interest in watching the Rugrats movie or Osmosis Jones again. 'Cause I've seen that. I have not seen Anastasia in a long time. And Anastasia was done by Don Bluth, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, that's
No?
kind of another interesting like
We talked a little bit about Bluth when we watched the Mice. Right?
Which
Yeah. When what is that movie called? Secret of Nim.
Yeah, we watched Nim.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a very fascinating
Yeah, I'd be happy to dig more into
creator
the
as well.
Bluth world. Yeah. So
Well,
this
great.
is the 1997. Oh, we're staying in the same year. Trapped in the late 90s.
And this is we're staying with royalty, really.
Can I get Ezra? Can I just get a question? What exactly is what's the end game here? Because is it Hunter's picking next?
No,
Well, we don't know.
Next week
No.
we redraw.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
Ez
but
is at least rolling the dice a little bit.
What's the gambit here from Anastasia
So
to
Anastasia connects to mine via Bernadette Peters. So if
What's your movie? I forgot.
Cinderella, the 1997 TV,
Oh, yeah.
TV one.
Again, not his fault.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's
Well,
full
I
story.
mean,
You put
it
that in
was
play, but
absolutely his fault. Yeah.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so we'd be moving. Okay, and the person we're moving via is we actually get two. We're moving via voice actresses Debbie Derryberry, which is a great name, and also Sherry Lynn.
Cool.
Oh, and actually Pat Fraley. Three actors. It's a triple move.
Okay, wow, you got backups on backups.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna put down Sherry Lynn right now just because I got to pick something, and that seemed easiest to spell. Cool. All right. So next week we're watching the 1997 animated film Anastasia. There we
Anastasia,
go.
yeah.
Anastasia is definitely combining those two on accident.
Wait,
there was a great Animaniacs joke.
Anthony,
my
what's
God.
up?
Kirsten Dunst is in Anastasia. Can I get first pick again?
Oh,
Yeah, let's hope.
No.
Let's hope.
There's no way. I mean, honestly, Anthony, you have gotten it 6 out of 9 times. There's no way.
It'll happen.
Points
I
are scoring.
believe.
But I'll say I'm open to play. So if I get next for either of you, I'm willing to help.
Yeah.
Or Hunter, if there's a way to help. I'm definitely into helping next. Okay.
Oh, we get Angela Lansbury also. This is nice.
Awesome. All right. Anastasia 1997. That's
we're
happening.
one pick away from my next movie as well. So
yeah, I love it.
Whoever goes next.
And we're not one pick away from my movie, whatever I end up picking.
Yeah, better not be.
Because that would be unfair. But next week we'll redraw. We'll see what's happening. All right. So that brings us to our final order of business today. We got a quick dip into the mailbag, and I just wanted to read and give a shout out to Caleb, who sent in an email and said, longtime listener, first time caller, you would be doing yourself a disservice if after you watch Princess Mononoke, you don't watch the episode of Movies with Mikey by Filmjoy about the movie. And he sent a YouTube link, which I will add in the show notes, and was instrumental. I'm not usually the biggest fan of extremely long YouTube videos. It's just not a genre that fits into my life well. But I watched it, and it's very funny and also very smart, and it kept me from embarrassing myself. If you listening to the show at home right now, if you listen to this podcast and you were like a little bit shocked that I didn't come in here with some hot take about how this was too simplistic and environmentalist and also unclear where it was going, it's only because Movies with Mikey saved me from that dumb opinion. Because I was ready. I had it all locked and loaded, and then Mikey explained it to me, and so now I didn't look nearly as dumb as everyone would have expected. So
that's funny.
Caleb asked, would love to hear how it changed your view of the movie's message and theme afterwards. And it definitely, it's all stuff that you guys would have said anyway, but now I didn't go, as much. So
nice.
I was a little bit smarter.
You got to do that more. What is that called? Research. That's what that is.
Well, okay, so yes and no. Do I have to do it more, or is the show worse if I know what I'm talking about?
Do I have to do it, or should I make risotto with Link? Okay, I think that's the real question, everyone.
Yeah. How many apples can I eat?
I am so busy making sautéed fruit. I just don't have the time.
You gotta get back to your cyber apples, my friend. You gotta cyber out with these apples.
Do not have the time. Caleb also asked, do you have any updates on the low amount scholarship you were giving out? And we have not talked about this on the podcast in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Caleb's referring to the Teeny Tiny Grant, which you can learn more about at teenytinygrant.com. And we have not brought it up in a while. So I can pull up some numbers for you. We've definitely made like 5 videos about the results of that, of different people who have gotten it, 4 videos at least. And they're on the YouTube playlist, which you can find on teenytinygrant.org. And we have given at this point, we have donated. Sorry, I've been trying to stall long enough to get to my spreadsheet, and I was too slow at clicking. But the answer is we've given away.
It's cool. I mean, you just got this email right now.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you went into the show knowing you had it.
I have been very busy walking Sylvester Stallone around.
That's very good.
Almost 50. We've given away just about 50 teeny tiny grants, which is where we're giving $11 to people to do nice things for other people. And we've done about 50 of them. So that was where our target was. And we have slowed down. We've not the videos have not gone viral the way I'd hoped, and so we just did the nice things for those people.
So we realized we don't need to be good anymore.
No, we did the thing. We just didn't we didn't do way more things than we set out to do. We just did about the amount that we're setting out to do, and like gave them to as many people as we could from that original round of applications. We've had a few more trickle in. We've given a few extras as we've gone along, but that was our goal, and so that is the Teeny Tiny Grant. And so they've been so wonderful. It's not viral, but I like it, right?
Yeah.
They've been so wonderful. There are so many just, one that I was remembering was a guy wanted to give his nephew use $11 to teach her how to be better at the crane game. And instead he just gave $11 to the manufacturer of the crane game and she won nothing. But then they got ice cream afterwards and it was like a fun heart. Just
she got
the video.
She got an important lesson. I think on the crane game.
Just like a half hour of her like, so close trying to get this one crane game. So, but at least now she knows it's not just like, oh, if only he had a quarter I could win. It's like, no, you could just buy the stuff. But that was really wonderful.
Well, it's a good lesson that if you're playing with house money, who gives a shit? Spend it as much as you want on a bad wicked game machine.
Totally. Also, Bradley bought Gatorade for the tuba section of the drum corps when it was still hot outside.
Those tubas were parched. It's good.
Parched tubas. We get several different teachers got little things for their classrooms, stickers, erasers, noise toys for kids. Just so many of these have been just the most wonderful thing. Susan got her son works at an HVAC company. It was during the summer and they were spending a lot of time in crawl space. It was super hot. So she bought him and his coworkers a pack of squirt guns to have a squirt gun fight one day at the end of their HVAC day. I mean, just the sweetest things. We gave to a bunch of different nonprofits. We bought a pair of shoes for the Bless Your Soul program from Kurt's Closet, which is a pair of back to school shoes, which happened to be about $11. So we were able to help with that. Just so many like really, really lovely things that did not. Oh, and I think I told you this, but if I didn't, several actual grant writers wrote grant applications. And it I really enjoyed it. So one of them was just to buy a bottle of cheap wine for her boss because they just finished reading through hundreds and hundreds of applications for real grants. And so she wrote a grant to this silly thing to just buy them a celebration.
I love that.
Yeah, just so many fun things. And I really love how that turned out. So that's the Teeny Tiny Grant. And we received some donations to that as well. So if you go to Teeny Tiny Grant, you can see all of the great things we did with that money. And thanks, Caleb, for writing in and for checking in. That's going to be it for now. That's it for the show.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back again next week. If you have any more emails, questions, comments, things you want to see, you want to check in on what we've brought up and then haven't talked about in a while, send us along, podcast@read-weep.com. And we appreciate all of our meat buddies, and especially the ones like Ryan, who just came back in from the cold, as we call it. We appreciate all of our meat buddies. You can go to Metreon.com. I think I forgot to say it last time. Metreon.com to join our Patreon and become a meat buddy and keep the show limping down the tracks through the winter. We had to clear off the snow from these ghost tracks. Thanks for being here. Oh, and also, you can always watch the show on YouTube now, except for last week where it was not on YouTube because I had something in my teeth and no one told me. And I noticed it when I was editing, and it was too gross.
We didn't. None of us noticed it.
Yeah,
you have to know that, Alex.
So I guess the peek behind the curtains is that we have a little preview video, but it's very low quality, so that the stream still works for each other. And then it's a higher quality that I'm uploading to YouTube. So once I put it in the big,
Alex, can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Would you have given any of us that same exact treatment?
Yeah.
If editing,
Alex.
you noticed that Hunter had something in his teeth. Would
you?
you?
Yes, I would have not posted it because if you guys were embarrassed about something that of your look, I would have not posted it for you. That treatment I would have provided you. Would I have told you had something in your teeth? Harder to say. The awkwardness of telling somebody like your fly is down, you stepped in some toilet, all of that is like pushing my physical limits. It's hard for me. But
I like it when someone catches
for
me.
you.
I like it when someone catches me doing something like that because it makes me feel like an old man. You know? I'm always like,
I got some toilet paper on my foot, huh?
I'll usually ask guys like a rhetorical where it's like, Alex, are we good enough friends that I could tell you that your fly is down?
Oh, yeah, you can tell me. It'll ruin my day.
No. That's what I do if your fly was down, right? I would ask you that question first. That is how I would present it.
And then I say no, and you're like, cool, nothing to
cool.
I have nothing to announce at this moment.
I asked.
Anyway, but most of them are on YouTube, youtube.com/Alex Falcone. We appreciate everybody who watches there. And we'll talk to everybody next week. Goodbye.
Bye.